Well, we are looking at the Atlantic, where we have two storms right now, named storms, still some potential in the Gulf of Mexico, but also northern lights possible across much of North America. So we have two named storms in the Atlantic right now, Leslie, tropical storm, and Kirk, which is a major hurricane, category 3 right now. And then we're still watching the Gulf of Mexico for potential development over the next 7 days, though maybe a glimmer of some good news there, at least if the models are correct. But right now, we'll talk about Leslie and Kirk first here, and then we'll talk a little bit more about that area in the Gulf of Mexico for early next week. But Kirk, not expected to affect the U.S. mainland, but is a powerful hurricane and is forecast to become a category 4 storm here in the next 24 hours, then move out to sea. But it could potentially be affecting Europe as a system once it gets there. Of course, it won't be a hurricane, but could be a powerful storm system. So most of the models have it continuing in this category 3-4 range, and then weakening, of course, as it moves into colder waters of the North Atlantic. But the track of Kirk will bring it into the UK here eventually, with whatever form it takes, which would be a probably pretty powerful mid-latitude cyclone or just large area of low pressure, rain and wind. Leslie, tropical storm, expected to become a hurricane here, category 1 or 2. Generally a minor hurricane is what we would call that, although minor is not really a good terminology for that. But some of the models do have Leslie reaching category 3 strength, which would be a major hurricane here at some point in the next several days. But again, Leslie too, kind of taking this turn off to the east and largely staying away from the islands in the Atlantic, and also, of course, especially the U.S. mainland. But back to that area in the Gulf, 30% probability that it could become something in the next 7 days. And the models, well, earlier in the week had been a little more aggressive, now are kind of backing off, fortunately. So hopefully this trend continues. But the American model does have some tropical feature developing and kind of bouncing around the Gulf, but keeps it relatively minor. Something that's much better news, not so scary, is the potential for some northern lights. We had a coronal mass ejection, a CME that came out of a solar flare 2 days ago, and a reminder that the sun is very active right now. Several sunspots that are spewing flares occasionally, and when that plasma reaches Earth's magnetic field, it creates auroras, northern lights. And if it's strong enough, we can see it for a large area. And the forecast the next couple of nights is for that activity to be strong enough where about half of the US could see some northern lights. So this evening already could reach a KP index of 6 or 7, and tomorrow the forecast is for 6 or 7. When we get to that energy level, it's visible across many of the northern states, down into Nebraska, Iowa, Illinois even. Same thing for tomorrow evening, pretty close to the similar 6.7 to 7.0 KP index. But forecasting auroras is pretty fickle, and you never know. It could be stronger, could be weaker. Trying to time it out is also very difficult, but if you happen to be in an area with clear skies, keep your eyes to the sky the next couple nights.